here today because I heard there's a bike ride.
This is an exciting day. My husband and I are riders, and we have been patiently waiting for this trail to be rebuilt. So it's great that the city's going to be telling us about what is coming in the future. It's something to look forward to. Yay!
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jennifer Loper, and I'm a public information specialist for Public Works and Natural Resources. Our ride is going to take us from here to the western edge of Sandstone Ranch. And along the way, we're going to learn about current and upcoming work on our flood protection efforts on ResilientStVrain. Our first speaker, who is our Director of Engineering Services for Public Works and Natural Resources, that is Nick Wolfram. He's also one of the project managers for ResilientStVrain. So Nick, can you remind us this morning why the city is working on these flood protection efforts, and also bring us up to date on the status of the bridge replacement projects, starting with Main Street Bridge, which is behind us to the west?
Sure. My wife and I moved to Longmont in 1985, and when we moved here, I think the only time you really saw the St. Vrain Creek was when you were driving down Main Street or Hover Road, if you looked real quick when you went over the bridge and you saw St. Vrain. And then the city started developing the Vrain Greenway, and it became an incredible resource that brings all of these great people out to get in touch with nature and get away from the rush of the city. Also as a great place for recreation and for transportation, a great transportation link through Longmont. And then in 2013, we were also reminded that it is a major tributary that serves a very large drainage basin that goes all the way to the Continental Divide. And we had a very large flood come through town, and at the time we talked about it and said it was probably closer to a 500-year flood than a 100-year flood. Since that time, we've updated the hydrology and found it was probably closer to a 100-year flood than anything. And so as we've gone and started working towards restoring the Greenway, we're also working towards the resiliency of the community, so that next time we have not only one of those large floods, but even a smaller flood event. It only takes about a 10-year flood event to cause flooding in Longmont along St. Vrain. That we do it in a way that we can not only restore the Greenway and let nature reestablish itself along the creek, but also protect the community from the sort of disaster that we had in 2013. So we're real excited today because we're getting started on some of the first two reaches of it, the Sandstone reach that we're going to ride out and just see the very edge of and restoring there. And when we get out there, David's going to talk a little bit more about that. The city reach here is going to be starting, this city reach 1, which is from Left Hand Creek up to the Main Street Bridge, is going to be starting probably sometime around the first of the year. And both of those projects will go all the way through 2017 and very possibly continue into 2018, particularly as plantings and vegetation is reestablished through that. That will get us up to the first reach, and then we continue to move on upstream, and it's a long-term project to get there and to build that resiliency into it. We'll also be talking today about the new Dickens Farm Nature Area that Steve's going to talk about, that's going to be developed along here, which is going to be a great new way for people to come down and interact with St. Vrain Creek. Somebody asked a great question about when is the trail going to be opened under Main Street? And I'm not surprised. I should have thought about that with this many riders out, people wanting to know what's going on. So right now we've got the trail basically from the trailhead, a little beyond the trailhead of Sandstone Ranch, but the trailhead of Sandstone Ranch open up to this point and up to there. Because we're working on the Main Street Bridge, it's obviously closed and we don't want people riding underneath there. We're detouring around that in the meantime. The Main Street Bridge is going to be getting finished up about the end of this month. Probably in the next 2 weeks, they're going to be pouring the bridge deck on the east side of that. And as we wrap that up, we'll also be doing the Greenway Trail under there, but then we're going to be moving up next year and replacing the South Pratt Parkway Bridge with a new bridge that will also pass the 100-year storm. And in addition to that, it will have bike lanes across it and also have sidewalks, which we don't have now on the South Pratt Parkway Bridge. So it'll be a much safer and nicer way to get down to the Greenway. So in that area between Main and South Pratt, it'll still probably be closed for the next about full year. Until we get that reach done. And then we'll be working on the reach the following year between Main and South Pratt. And then we're going to go from South Pratt up to the BNSF Railroad. So it's going to take some time, and we're going to have to work around things as we are. But that one is coming in the near future. So we'll keep appraised of it. And I know that Holly and Jennifer have been keeping stuff on site on the web, and we'll keep our websites up to date to let people know when the different trails are opening up.
Thanks, Nick. So yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Steve Ransweiler, a senior project manager for Public Works and Natural Resources. I've been working on the St. Vrain Greenway since 1998, working with Paula Fitzgerald, who did a lot of the work on the trail as well, who's since retired. But we were both pretty sad when the trail got wiped out by the 13 flood. But we're looking at it as an opportunity to make it better as we improve things through the St. Vrain corridor through the city. Behind me is what was once called the Pavlakis open space parcel. This is one of the city's first open space purchases when the open space program began back in the early 2000s. I think we bought this property in 2003. It's about close to 80 acres. And we always knew, if you look back at the St. Vrain Greenway master plan that we council adopted in 2001, it included this parcel as a parcel that we would purchase and develop into a nature area or a district park. We completed some master planning on this parcel back in 2011, and the basic sense of the master plan was that we would embrace the river, try to get people to interact with the river, because there's no other place in town where we really encourage people to get into the river. City staff worked for 4 or 5 years and secured a recreational in-channel diversion water right. So we had the right to divert water out of the creek to use for recreational purposes. The master plan, curiously, shows diverting water out of the St. Vrain and bringing it up to sort of a loop to the north where people could be floating in tubes and kayaks and canoes and things. When the flood happened, that's exactly what the river did. It really closely mimics what that master plan shows. So we, the river obviously paid attention to our public process, and so we were honoring that with our design. And so with the design of the City Reach 1 Resilient St. Vrain project, which is doing a good portion of the Dickens Farm Nature Area project work because they're sort of overlapped on top of one another, we're leaving that waterway in place. If you remember the old bridge that we just passed over here, just downstream of it before the flood, there was a large concrete drop structure that was the bonus ditch diversion, as well as another water right diversion. Well, that was wiped out by the flood, and so in order to rebuild that, we decided not to put back in that gargantuan structure, but to break the structure up into pieces. There will be a series of 9 structures between Main Street and just downstream of Martin Street, where people they'll vary from 15 to 22, 23 inches for people to drop over in their tubes, in their boats, whatever they choose to put through there. Don't think Lions. We don't have the same gradient as Lions. We're not calling it a whitewater park. It's just a river park, a water park. So we're really excited to create an area where people can actually safely get into and out of the river and interact with the water. Now, it's going to be seasonal, obviously, because during low flows, we don't have enough water in the creek, but during higher flows, it will be a fun area for people to recreate. Other components of the Dickens Farm Nature Area are a bike skills course, Obviously parking and restroom and showers and things that we have at other areas within our park system. And with the island that has resulted between the original St. Vrain riverbed and the new riverbed, we'll be putting a nature discovery area where kids can go, and there'll be no bikes and no dogs. It's going to really be just a people area for kids to play, kids to climb trees, kids to jump on logs, kids to play in the water. So we think that'll be a really successful area and something that I think will end up getting a lot of school students out there experiencing the nature that they might not otherwise experience. So, like I said, we're building a lot of the portion of the nature area with the ResilientStVrain City Reach 1. As that project is winding up, we'll start construction on the balance of the Dickens Farm Nature Area improvements, and hope to have all those improvements done and open by the end of 2018.
The ride is awesome. It's a great chance to see all these parts of the city, and it's cool to have a trail that connects everything.
I think it's great that the city has built a trail along the creek to let people get close to nature, and out here by Sandstone to be able to see the raptors and all the wildlife. It's great to have in an urban setting, so it's very nice.
If you all turn around and kind of look back to the west from where we came, it's kind of a different spot than when we started at behind Pinocchio's this morning. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about the Longmont program, that you have a trail system that Nick talked about. We're talking about flood control and preserving buildings and preserving property, but jump on your bikes, and as quick as it was to get out here, you're in an area that's been preserved through the open space program that's just done an amazing job, and things change. And we're going to talk about some of those changes a little bit here as far as the primary goal of the restoration project here. But to back that up a little bit, this trail, people have told me they've tried riding out further. They come to a gate that's closed, and we're wondering why that's closed. There's a significant amount of damage here to the trail system. So as you look out at the trail, it might look like the trail continues a little further, but it's actually undercut. So there's areas on that trail, you're on the trail with nothing under you. You go past that point, the trail disappears and the bridges disappear. So this trail will actually take you out to Sandstone Ranch eventually. But as we get to this area, the trail is only a part of what this property is purchased for, and we're trying to get it maintained and returned to in that restoration project. So a couple of things as we're out here. If you want to look over to your left, you're going to see a big pile of wood over there. And I've had people call and say if they can get some of that firewood, that we're not going to use it. Well, as Nick looks at his projects in town and looks at the engineering those, you'll see a lot of places you want to kind of control a river and keep it where you want it. Concrete and rocks and riprap happen. Out here, we're letting the river do a little bit more of what the river wants to do. So we're not as concerned about maintaining it. We don't have roads, we don't have the infrastructure, but there are some places we want to make sure the trail is protected. We want to make sure the bridge is protected. So in doing that, we're using some softer materials. So these root wads are safe from the flood, and they'll be placed in the river to help direct the river away from those areas that we want to protect and maintain. So a little bit of softer work out here. And then as far as the residents out here, how many people have ridden this trail? Oh, that's excellent. So we have a lot of wildlife values out in this area too, and some of those are avian raptors, or the avians and the raptors out in this area. And we work very closely with our engineers, our project managers, and people who come out here to figure out how we work this project, not around roads and buildings and traffic flows, but around nesting birds to make sure we don't impact those. So on this property we have 2 bald eagles that are nesting. We worked really hard to figure out how we could do our work with CPW or Colorado Parks and Wildlife to make sure that we were working in areas that weren't going to impact their nest and make sure they had successful nests as possible. So as we did all that work, getting ready to go, next week getting crews out here to start the work, and the eagles decided they wanted to change where their nest was. So we had an emergency meeting with CPW this morning to talk about what we can do to try to continue this project but still protect and respect those nests. So doing a little bit of different work now and starting probably some different areas, but able to still complete the work. And we're still looking at, as Nick said, to have this project completed probably by the end of 2018. But again, it's going to be some challenges there because of our avian species, and also as you get in the river, we have some native fishes out here. Probably the highest number of native fishes on the St. Vrain River happen in this section of the creek. So as you transition from the colder water upstream down to the more open, flat, meandering creek streams, we're getting more native fish out here too. So fish and birds and trails, all a little bit different. And again, with this open space property, did it stop? If you saw the tractor and traffic over there to the south of us, we actually have some of the open space agricultural land, and that was a sugar beet harvest going on. So again, it kind of ties the historic use of this property back to this sugar mill, which you can still see behind us. So again, a little bit different, but again, working really hard to make sure this trail is open to the public, to get people back, enjoy the wildlife, enjoy the commute, and get out to Sandstone Ranch.
One of the questions we get asked is, why does it take so long? It's been 3 years since the flood, and there has just been an immense amount of work that's gone into figuring out how to do it right and to get this put back together, and it's required a large number of partnerships. First off, without the leadership of City Council, we wouldn't be here today. And also everybody here who's a Longmont resident, because Longmont residents, right after the flood, voted to approve a storm drainage bond that is one of the elements of what's funding this work to happen, along with the extension of the street fund sales tax, which is paying for things like the Main Street Bridge and the South Pratt Parkway Bridge. So Longmont really stepped up and said, we'll help take care of this. And so Longmont residents, thank you very much. This project has required the approval of literally every level of government, from federal government with our partners at FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the state of Colorado, which is helping with funding the local match requirement for this, particularly our partners at the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Colorado Parks and Wildlife, which has helped us in determining how we can do this work in an environmentally sensitive manner and make that work. Great Outdoors Colorado is helping fund this project as they help fund the original development of the Greenway. So there's, and also Boulder County, and right now we've crossed the line and we're over in Weld County, and we've been working with them. So it's literally federal, state, local, county, all of those agencies have been involved in doing this, and thank you all to them. Also, we got a few riders out here from CH2M. You guys raise your hand. That's our design team that's been working with us for 3 years to get this underway, along with all of the staff from Natural Resources, Public Works, Finance, everybody at the city that's been working on this. So it's taken a lot of work, but we're very excited, as David said, to get started with L&M. Construction is going to be starting work out here. You'll probably see a job trailer. Most of the work occurs kind of hidden back in there, so you won't see a lot of that activity. Around the first of the year, you'll be seeing a lot more of it up by Main Street in that area that Steve talked about, where we're going to be doing our first reach, and then that they're going to be working on the park.
Has been going around, and she has these little seed packets that we were trying to give out to everybody. If you haven't had a chance to get one yet, if you could raise your hand so we can get one to you. We're going to use these as part of our groundbreaking ceremony. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you to the City of Longmont, all the residents, for getting us underway with this. Thank you very much, and thanks for riding with us today.